No end in sight now. The provocations now from an Iranian-backed militia. This in the poorest country in the Arab world. It's Yemen, and the Houthi rebels occupy the western part of that country. An attack on a U.S.-owned ship off the coast of Yemen in the Gulf of Aden, stoking tensions even higher with that group and Tehran. Retired four-star General Jack Keane, a Fox News senior strategic analyst. General, thanks for coming on here. I want to get to two topics. First off, this one. We hit him last week, and apparently we've hit him again. How would you gauge the measure of success we had on the targets in Yemen on behalf of the Houthi rebels? Because they have been undeterred, General.
Yeah, I think that was a comprehensive attack, something that was long overdue. They did the bomb damage assessment and came back in a re-attack and really only went after one target, which tells you that likely the bomb damage assessment told them they did a pretty good job, to be frank. But what we need to do is keep on top of them. That's the issue here. And you had the key word here. We have not deterred them. We have to return to deterrence in the Middle East. And that is our major problem here. Now, there's a couple of things that are going on that are also very good. You see that the United States Navy is interrupting the flow of arms, rockets, and missiles to Yemen. That is something we have done periodically. I'm hoping this is an indication that this is going to be an aggressive campaign, that we're going to go after it with a significant amount of resources. And likely those two Navy SEALs who were lost at sea were also participating in an operation to disrupt it. The Israelis, by comparison, have conducted over 200-plus air attacks in Syria to stop the transmission of rockets and missiles from Iran to Lebanon and the Hezbollah. This is a very important dimension. But finally, Bill, what we really need to come to grips with, and we've said it before, Iran is the center of gravity here. Iran doesn't care how many rockets and missiles we destroy in Yemen. They will just give them more. Iran further doesn't care how many of the Houthi rebels we kill, because they know they're a radicalized group and they'll get new members. And that's the pattern that they have dealing with all of their 6 or 7 proxies out there. They are the center of gravity. We've got to organize ourselves to go against them, not just with kinetic missions, which I think is a very important dimension, take down things that they value, not go to war with them, measured attacks, but also, Bill, look, we need to go back to the full-throated sanctions that we had. The administration claims that they have done that. Well, if they did, if they were doing that, Iran wouldn't be flush with money and producing and able to get sales for over 3.5 million barrels of oil a day. Under the Trump administration, it was down around 200,000. These are some of the things we've got to do. We've got to focus on Iran.
Yeah, well framed as well, General. I'm going to move to the topic of Ukraine, but just crossing right now, Vladimir Putin said, quote, "It's impossible to take away what we have gained in Ukraine." And you think about how they've dug in there in the southeastern part and the eastern part of that country. The former NATO commander, Philip Breedlove, said the other day, he said, if the West chooses to give Ukraine what they need to win, Ukraine will win this war. This war is going to end exactly how Western policymakers want and desire it to end. The suggestion is that Putin's chances of winning here at the moment might have improved, General.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we at the Institute for the Study of War said it's indisputable because we are the center of gravity here with the Europeans. If we don't provide them the aid, Ukraine loses. They'll lose their government. Russia will take control of the country. They'll continue to fight them as an insurgency as long as there's troops on the ground there, but they'll be a vassal of Russia. Look at what's really happening already because of the delay and the prospects of maybe not even being funded. Things have changed dramatically. Russia is triumphant. They're talking about a complete victory in Ukraine that's very achievable for them, and they're advertising that all around the world and also to their own people. Ukraine literally has gone on the defensive. They've become very cautious because they know they're running out of munitions, they're running out of weapon systems. So they're much in the defensive mode as we speak. And here's the third piece that's happening. Russia has become very aggressive against NATO states, particularly Finland, Latvia, the other Baltic states as well, Poland, and certainly the non-NATO-aligned country, Moldova. They are in Russia's sights, and we've got to recognize what is happening here. If Ukraine is not funding, we're just going to blow up Europe as a result of it and give Putin a free hand, not only to control Ukraine, but to move into these other countries. That has been his strategic objective since 2000.
Two big topics. General, thank you on both. Jack Keane, nice to have you on today.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.